All right, back to the match. Let's talk about these two teams, Roadkill,
Yes.
and what's at stake for them. First off, Gong Fu has yet to win a match in the Gold League. They're at the very bottom. This is their last chance. They have had more setbacks than any other team in the league due to illegal mods and account sharing, but besides that, they've overcome those obstacles. They've been able to replace the people that they've lost, and they're still together as a team to face their final opponent. Despite their troubles, the core of the team has stayed together to finish the fight. If they win, they earn their first and only victory. If they lose, they are knocked out of the Gold League, and they're going to have to fight their way back via the qualifiers or some other method later on in the different seasons to join us once again. Let's talk about their opponents. Googly Bobbers. If you can believe it, and the numbers don't lie, the Googly Bobbers have only one win under their belt. Now, they took a battle off of Bernal Empires last week, but they defeated the Cunninghams. That's their one win. They defeated the Cunninghams earlier on in the season. That was in week 2. Googly Bobbers, they have heart. And tonight, they are playing for survival. If they win, they tie for 6th place. If they lose, they tie for 7th place, and they're knocked out of the Gold League. Similar scenario with Simple Tankers happening in the Alpha Division.
Oh, right to the heart.
Right to the heart, right to the heart. Well, we had the privilege of speaking with Spoon at least one more time in the face-off. Spoon, good evening.
What's up?
Nice hat.
It's a hair. It's my real hair. I just grew it out.
Oh,
I see. I see. All right, no chance for the playoffs, Spoon. What are you fighting for tonight? What is Googly Bobbers fighting for?
A second victory.
A second win?
Yeah, it's pretty much, I don't know. It's pretty much just, I guess, to show that we can win and that we're not the worst team in the world. It's pretty much, yeah.
You sound pretty demoralized.
A little bit, especially from how we played last season. But, it is what it is, and hopefully we'll bounce back.
Do you plan to continue to stay together as a team and to fight even harder in the next season?
I know that Bananas, the wall host, is going to be taking a break from the game, so we're probably going to have to finding a new caller. So I'm not sure what's exactly going to happen to us, but I guess you'll see next season if we're back.
Are there any candidates on the team for that position?
Probably Zombie Food or myself, but I probably goof off too much to be a caller. And I'm not sure if Zombie Food's going to have school or not. So it's just we're going to wait and see what happens.
All right, Googly Bobbers, you have had a lot of fans rooting for you. We've seen it on the social media sites. We've seen it in Twitch chat. What would you like to say to them?
You guys are awesome, and I love you. And Sovereign loves you, Clutch.
All right, thank you, Spoon. Good luck. We'll see you on the battlefield.
Thank you.
It's a tough spot to be in, especially when you made it all the way to the season finals last season. Let's take a look at those rosters. Terry Loves Bird on the side of Gong Fu is one that has really, really impressed us with his continual on-top type play.
And also Kudox is a new member to Gong Fu, who I'll be looking out for. He's been a high performer. Of course, for the Googly Bobbers, there's Enfield, who is greatest stat patter NA. You have Spoon, who we just saw a moment ago. And I'm hearing things about Bananas. Maybe not joining us.
Maybe not. Maybe taking a break. Well, we'll have to find out. We'll have to see next season. Speculations they don't really help us out now. They still have one battle to fight, one more match to fight. Rukiel, what are your rules for victory for these teams?
All right, the first rule is going to be Kudox. For Gong Fu, they've just picked up some new players, and Kudox is one of them. He has been a very high, consistent damage dealer. Minimum is about 1,400 damage in the first battle we played in the season. After that, they switched him to a T1. They actually won that battle, but he was only in a T1, and he dealt 0 damage. The next two, he actually dealt about 1,800 damage, and then just under 2,500 damage. He is actually a very competent World of Tanks player. Just needs to be utilized a little better, and possibly there needs to be stronger teamwork around him and with him, especially since you have players like Terry on the team as well. Second is Farmer Enfield. He is a just damage farmer, just raking it in all day, every day. He just does so much damage, and that's just about it. He focuses on it, gets into a good position, and just wrecks things. Gong Fu needs to recognize this and actually focus on him. You can ignore other people, or you can just work around all of these other situations to kill him, because he does work. Next, and finally, is teamwork. Gong Fu's weakest point, I think, is real teamwork. Supporting each other, creating crossfires and executing on them, or blocking for your allies exceptionally well. Gong Fu needs to take this step, and we can see them win today.
Battle number 1 is about to begin between these two teams, the Googly Bobbers and Gong Fu, in the first match of the night on Ruinberg. Real kill, what do we have for tanks?
For tanks, we're going to have 3 AMX 5100s and IS-3. A 1390 and 2 T1 Cunninghams for Googly Bobbers. Gong Fu, looking to be a tank short, has 3 5100s, 2 IS-3s, and a single T1. They will be the blue team, and they will be spawning in the south.
And in the north, as you see on the screen, is the Googly Bobbers in the red. And in the south side, Gong Fu is heading towards the west, while Go Bob heading in eastern position, while one of the T1s will move to the western side in the city block to scout to the north to make sure that Gong Fu is not going for a strong, fast flag cap.
And with this kind of an early rollout, we're going to see that polarization from east to west. Spoon being able to scout freely after noticing nothing going to the east will have free reign to perhaps pick up Eric in a T1, and following that, you'll see Googly Bobbers begin to abuse their T1 advantage. Of course, Armor Ghost is in the west, and he is going to be dead. 2
shots coming out of Gong Fu, both Daniel W. Tang and Terry Losberg fired. It's a scenario, when it comes to perfection, you only want the IS-3 to shoot, but what's better, a guaranteed kill, or only 5 shots in an AMX 5100 compared to 6?
You know, when you know your opponent's not right behind him, or at least you suspect as much, you can get away with that kind of stuff.
Yes, you can. See reloads now if he wanted to have a full drum in case a firefight happens less than a minute from now. Terry Losberg will move from that position. Eric staying behind in the T1 in the bush, scouting for any Googly Bobbers to get closer to the flag cap.
Spoon appears to be spinning in his 1390. And he's looking for Eric, I guess. Lines up a shot, and he may go for blind fire.
And it tracks.
Whoa!
It tracks Eric. Another shot very, very close. Eric's still not moving.
I don't think Spoon knows, though. He can't know unless he was paying attention to the impact. And now he's actually going to move his fire to different bushes after that unlucky track instead of a kill.
Firing again. Will the crew notify him?
No.
They will not, since they cannot see it.
You have no notification whatsoever if you hit a tank, aside from this very little thing, and that is you will get no impact. There will be no dirt that poofs up when it hits the ground.
Yep.
When you do hit a tank, you get no impact. When you hit the dirt, of course, you get that. If you're able to view it, though. If you're firing at long range, it can be hard to tell, especially when your shot goes well out of draw range. You'll never see an impact if it hits way outside of draw range.
Well, SMS and the IS-3 poking around the chapel. Nothing sighted. Gong Fu staying very close together as Go Bob is doing the same, closer to the Delta Village, halfway in the map.
Yes, and they're watching right down that F crossroads, waiting for something to get spotted by perhaps Spoon, who does appear to be going in deep. Yep, going to head all the way into the city. That little 1390 is going to have plenty of cover, though. Oh, maybe not. Enfield's going to be low instead of to stay behind, as it looks like Googly Bobbers is going to switch their layout, perhaps moving those guys, those 3 5100s, all the way back to the north and then into the village. Spoon will not be spotting anything quite yet, but he is getting closer to his opponent, and they've recognized the most likely possible positions for Gong Fu.
For whom the bell tolls, the chapel is currently ringing for Daniel W. Tang, who's hugging next to it. Checking in with Shuma King at 5100. He's locked in with Germany as the battle buddies and the French autoloader tanks that deal so much damage in a burst form. But once they've done the 6 shots, they're completely vulnerable paper thin armor in comparison to a powerhouse like an IS-3 or T-32. But that's the trade-off.
It's a dangerous tank. Perfect complement for an IS-3. Alpha, next to this burst damage. You could say a T-32 is a good complement. You could say a Pershing is. Maybe even a T-69. But the IS-3, there's a reason those are the two tanks that you see on the battlefield.
Indeed.
There's almost nothing that you can bring in a lineup to combat that pure, raw damage.
Still a holdout coming from Gong Fu, staying in the same position as Gobob have shifted into the west.
Oh, and Spoon. Spoon is moving in. Ever so slightly. Very soon we could see him actually begin the engagement. Terry Loves Bird seems the most likely opponent as he backs up. And shots fired. Terry takes the hit instead. Spoon, shell meant for him, goes into dirt, and then Enfield right behind does not manage to get that into the turret of Terry. Goes right on over.
Terry pokes back, looking for a return shot. Doesn't see anything open yet. A couple more shots. Ooh, Terry falls back just in time to dodge one from Anfield.
Nice lineup. Terry, good game sense to know another shell was coming down the line, and Enfield reverse angling with a perfect shot. And turret protection might not even be spotted by Terry. Also damage being done to Sovereign Zul and Bananas the wall host at the same time.
Germany and Shuma King had a bit of a firefight between those two tanks, but the winner of that little duel is going to go to Googly Bobbers since they did more damage.
Yes, it looks like Shuma King's going to be sitting on 836 hit points, whereas Sovereign Zul Bananas are going to still be above 1,000 along with Terry. Of course, Germany. Oh wow, Germany's at 745. Even lower than Shuma King. That is a real victory for Googly Bobbers.
They can't overmatch him just yet. They want to perhaps whittle down the IS-3s a little bit more, but pressing against the 5100s at such low health is great if they're able to get a guaranteed kill, but at what cost? Look at the amount of damage that could turn around against them around that corner.
Yeah.
SMS, Terry Loves Bird, Shuma King, ready for that type of impact.
You're right, they do have to respect the amount of damage still in the hands of Gong Fu. They can't get ahead of themselves. They could come around a corner and just blast a tank very quickly, but Gong Fu could still come back with a very proper focus fire and perhaps a few lucky crits. Maybe a fire here or there, especially if a member of the Googly Bobbers doesn't bring a fire extinguisher.
Now Shuma peeking around the corner where Terry Loves Bird was. He takes a hit for 438. That alpha strike from the IS-3.
And after that, Spoon is actually going to sneak into the backfield. He's been spotted. He's blind firing after recognizing he's lit. Continues to fire. Blind firing again, gets very close to Eric. He does not recognize that Eric is in a bush. Eric, just keeping a cool head. I'm amazed he hasn't tried to run for it by now.
Where would he go? He would
I mean,
either
just fly, Eric, fly!
Out of the frying pan and into the fire is where Eric is, but he's only been tracked. Spoon, however, might chase him down to get that guaranteed kill.
Sovereign Zul.
Germany able to get that shot in the first tier 8 to fall is Germany.
No, Sovereign Zul just died.
On the side of Gong Fu.
Oh, on the side of Googly Bobbers, though. They lost the T8
Sovereign
first.
Zul before, yep.
Yeah.
Daniel W. Tank coming around the corner. Zombie Food presses against him. He goes down. Shuma King still low. Terry Loves Bird takes a hit. And he falls back behind the lower 5100 as SMS pushes up front. Spoon, double hit.
724 damage, and he's lost a crew member or two. Now plenty of damage being dealt in reply. Enfield moving up is still at full health in the IS-3, and he could be the breakthrough tank for the Googly Bobbers as Terry is coming around the corner. Puts a shot into the dirt, but Enfield, his shot rings true.
And he fires another one. Enfield will be reloaded in a matter of seconds to go for another big shot against Terry. Bit of a bounce, and he does hit for 342. SMS pushes up against Anfield. Zombie Food around the corner. Tries to line up a shot. One tank. Bananas gets the kill against Terry Loves Bird. One tank still on the flag cap. Return fire. Shuma King takes down Tuxilla. Last tank alive for Gong Fu is the tier 8. He's up against 3 of the Googly Bobber tanks. 2 of them at just below 50% health.
Spoon lines up the shot of Shuma King and then a double whammy. Bananas gets the kill.
And they go down. Googly Bobbers takes battle number 1. That Ruinberg play was impressive.
Yes.
Took a little while, but it was impressive.
It did. And that was the example that I was hoping that we would see today when I was talking about the West versus West. You recognize the weak points of your opponent. You identify your point of attack. You force your opponent, in this case, to back off and actually give ground. And you just kind of posture up. That IS-3, 1390, Spoon, and Enfield, the two of them forced Terry out of a key position in a key hole. And with that, we're able to push up a little bit further. Mistakes made by Googly Bobbers, though, was using their two 5100s to begin attacking against another two. They did not take into account the fact that their opponent was sitting still, watching out that corner, and they had the stronger position simply because they were settled watching that position. If you have to drive forward to look at some tanks, you have to wait for your reticle to settle. You have to wait for spotting to happen. There's a slight delay in that. And so they lost their own tier 8 first. They were able to bring it back, but the Googly Bobbers had their own mistakes to make. Kung Fu just playing the defensive game.
Being down one tier 1 is a tough place to be because of the eyes and ears that are lost for Gong Fu. We have seen teams in the past that have been down a man still be able to win a match. But you have to consider that's also a T1 not available to flee that type of engagement to go for a draw, and also cannot put flag cap pressure against the opponent, which would have been completely open to if one of the T1s had moved to the eastern side and pushed up in a crazy switch.
Yes.
Eric stayed in that bush the entire time, though.
I don't see a situation in which he would have gotten outside of that unless he somehow knew that Spoon in 1390 could not have been out there and no one else could have been out there. It was a very tense situation for Eric. He knew he had to sit still, hold his ground, and that was it. If he tried to leave, he was probably dead. And if he stayed, there was always a chance.
It was guaranteed, guaranteed. Himmelsdorf will be the second battle between these two teams. From what we've seen with Gong Fu, their tactics may be a little rusty in comparison to teams that have more experience, but it really is the amount of experience that Gong Fu has lacked in comparison to other teams. But as we wait for the countdown to finish from these two teams, I think a DC has been called.
That's what I was hearing as well. DC will delay the start of this game just a few seconds, as whoever disconnected is going to be getting on back in the game. And from there, we'll get started just shortly, but I'm seeing some interesting lineups. Oh, yes. You're in for a surprise. I thought yesterday we weren't going to see this again, but yes, it's back. The KV5s are back.
Not one, but two, I believe. We're going to have to check out what tanks were brought in this battle. Here we go. 20 seconds left on the countdown. Battle number 2 of Gong Fu versus the Googly Bobbers. Rookhill, what do we have for tanks?
All right, spawning in the south, the red team, the Googly Bobbers, will have a 110, 2 AMX 5100s, 2 KV5s, guys, and 2 T1 Cunninghams. Gong Fu spawning in the north, the blue team, will have 3 AMX 5100s, 2 IS-3s, and a T1 Cunningham. These KV5s. Now, on a city map like Himmelsdorf, I get it a little bit. It seems all right. I'm just a little worried is all, because, well, you're up against IS-3s and 5100s. But I guess we better go over the strengths and weaknesses of this combo. You've got luckily a 110. Thanks for my shot. Oh, they're actually going to run each other into one. These guys are actually silly. They really are. The Googly Bobbers are just a bunch of playful little guys. You'll hear in their comms, Spoon calling for air support and stuff all the time. But the KV5, it has 1,780 hit points. Now, a 5100 can do enough damage to get the kill. But with the armor layout of KV5, and if you're trying to get your shots out as quickly as possible, there's a good chance that one of those shells is going to bounce. They absorb quite a bit of damage, especially with the side armor and the tracks. Do not be deceived by the side armor. It looks not all that formidable, but the tracks add spaced armor and make it so that KV5 is likely to bounce shells. The only real huge weak spot, which is reliable, is the little R2-D2 unit is what we call it. The radio man's little hatch, right on the front of the KV5.
I love to call it the moving wall because that's the best type of strategy it's used for. It can attract damage being dealt while other tanks can get into better positions. It can still do some damage, but not as good as an IS-3 or 5100. But it's how they're used that makes or break bringing a KV5 in the first place.
Yes. And I think the damage is about the same per shell as a 5100 on a KV5, if I remember correctly.
Eric from Gong Fu, and a number of the Tier 8s have taken the hillside as Googly Bobbers prepares to go for the flag cap to the north. Gong Fu has not spotted anything on the hill, obviously.
This is surprising to actually see a KV5 fast cap. A tank that's not exactly known for being at all nimble.
Or speed.
The word fast doesn't really belong in a statement with the KV5.
Well, it's a KV5 cap, we'll call it that. And it can guard tanks behind it, no problem. As long as it's able to shift that way. And there's Tuxilla right behind those KV5s to get on the flag cap and to be well hidden.
What's Tuxilla going to go? Ah, yes. Instead of hiding to the right of Sovereign Zul, where a flank can come in, he's going to actually put himself up against the wall, allowing for his allies to do cover. Now, Enfield's going to move up. Smart move, preventing that one angle from being utilized by SMS. And it's going to cover Tuxilla. There's only one counter to that position. SMS smartly went into it. Tuxilla, not quite in the best position. He could take a shell for this, and he does. Enfield and Tuxilla not working as well together as they should. Spoon is coming around behind for the flank, and that could mean this will fall apart very quickly.
There is Spoon landing into Durf. SMS goes down. W Tank could be the next one to fall as he's getting shot from both angles. Armor Ghost also in the mix, probably to get him on the flag cap again. But Germany takes down Anfield in the brawl on the flag cap. Terry Loves Bird continually pumping shots into Sovereign Zul, and this is where the KV5s could fall apart a little bit here.
They could, but they absorbed so much damage, and now Sovereign Zul still left at 346 health. And finally, Daniel W. Tang in the IS-3 takes him down, but Spoon should be reloaded shortly. No, I think he's going to leave, and now there is a cap in the south.
Eric sees Armor Ghost on the flag cap, both at full health. And these T1s could duke it out. If Eric's able to take this, then Gobob has a problem up north. But one of the Tier 8s from Gobob is heading down to the south to deal with Eric.
Yep, that's going to be Bananas to the Wall. Spoon is reloaded, though, and he might be able to finish off Daniel W. Tang. One more shell, and he will have it. He gets it, and now Zombie Food in the 110 is taking on Shuma King. One more shell from him, and that will finish it. That is the kill, and that is GG.
And as Wallhouse got the long shot, as the T1s were duking out together, Gobob gets the win. One battle away from taking the series. The KV5s, I think it was that Tuxilla move, not working with the KV5 to stay behind him as the IS-3s were poking around that corner from Gong Fu.
Yes, Enfield could have gotten in a slightly stronger position. I think Tuxilla wasn't quite paying attention to that IS-3's positioning, although maybe he tried to die. Maybe that's what the call was. If he was ordered to die in that situation and just peek out, he could have actually caused that IS-3 to miss, attempting to snake a shot into a T1 instead of trying to put in a KV5. Hit points were kind of close there, and Enfield, along with Sovereign Zul, did a good job of absorbing quite a bit of damage. Looking at the post-game stats, it looks like 390 and IS-3 shell bounced on Enfield, and then on Sovereign Zul, looks like actually no damage bounced. They got about 3 for 3 on Sovereign Zul. Enfield got his 5 shells out, 4 of them penned. And not a whole lot of bounces in that. You have to give credit where credit is due to Gong Fu for actually not bouncing much of anything.
The KV5s did the damage difference. If you look at the straight-up spread between both, Spoon and Danny W. Tang, Bananas the Wall host, Shuma King, Zombie Food, Terry Loves Bird, they're pretty close in the amount of damage that they dealt on opposite sides of the team. But the KV5s did more damage than the IS-3 and the 5100 coming from Germany and SMS. And that made the difference. They stayed alive longer. They were able to deal that amount of damage. It's obviously not the top damage there, but their presence on the map was longer, therefore more damage was dealt.
Yes, I have to agree with that. And the number of hit points on the field, I do like that. That's an interesting point about the KV5 110 strat. There's just more hit points on the field. And with more hit points, you may be able to deal more damage, like in this situation, but Gong Fu just didn't possess enough damage or enough concentrated fire to really overwhelm their opponent.
It's more time. It's more time, and that's what they needed to get those flag caps. Tuxilla, he might be a little, sorry guys when he got shot, but do you hug the KV5 the entire time? Is that the best way to do it?
I think so. Yeah, you get right up next to his turret, you pay attention to the angle of your opponent's potential fire. onto the tank. And as long as you're perfectly behind it, that's how you can make the fast cap work. Of course, there are times we see T1s be sacrificial. And if you're thinking really clever, I mean, play around with the idea with me. If you want your opponent to try to shoot the T1, you give him the tiniest sliver, right, of the top of your turret. Make him try to kill you, but there's not a 100% chance he's even going to hit.
Gamble with that RNG a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really meta,
Oh, yeah.
but it is possible. And so we battle number 3 between Googly Bobbers and Gong Fu. One battle away, Googly Bobbers could win. Gong Fu knocked out of the Gold League. Here we go, Rookhill. What do we have for tanks?
For tanks, we have a 5100, 3 Nervans, a Tiger 1, a T2 Light, and a T1 Cunningham for Googly Bobbers versus Kung Fu in 3 5100s, 2 IS3s, and a single T1. Okay, so... All right, Googly Bobbers.
Googly Bobbers wants to play in a little bit of style. Gong Fu will spawn to the north in the blue. To the south, you see on the screen, was the Googly Bobbers. And they're going to meet, possibly head. Oh, they're both
They're going. They're going forward. It's the only direction, Clutch.
Western side, yeah.
And the fight will begin very soon. Tuxzilla leads the way. And he stops in a building.
Danny W. Tang fires for a miss as SMS pushes up. Spoon's right next to him. Shot, and it looks like that was a bounce. Another bounce coming from Crisis, but Spoon is right next to the IS-3.
It fires so fast, they're going to deal actually quite...
Oh! That's huge for Googly Bobbers.
Oh, man, now just keep going forward. Don't stop, Googly Bobbers.
Germany trying to hold the line against these Carnivarns, but Sovereign Zool and Spoon are dealing out serious damage. Crisis takes another hit, turns the corner. Daniel W. Tang holding against bananas to the wall host. Germany's the next one to fall. GoBob has only lost Tuxzilla, and 2 of the tier 8s are down. W. Tang from behind is Spoon, Sovereign Zool, and Crisis landing blows against him. Shuma King pushes up. Eric continues to try to move away from the Carnivarns. Zombie Food is the next target for Daniel, but Daniel goes down. 2 tier 8s left for Gong Fu.
And now Eric is trying to run away. Spoon chasing down the T1. Oh, he goes for Terry instead. And I'm amazed the DPM for the Carnivarns is outplaying the standard lineup from Gong Fu.
Well, Sovereign Zool lands another hit in the back of Shuma King, waiting for the reload. Shuma can, not get out of there in time to miss the second one. Sovereign tries to line up a third, stops and gets it, and that's it. Googly Bobbers wins 3-0. Congratulations to GoBob. The fiery death of that T1.
Dude, that's an ammo rack. I love the new ammo rack.
It was great. It was a testament to the fire and the fury coming out of the Googly Bobbers here. But look at this ammo rack, huge. This shot, I can't tell if it was from the front or the side. I think it was from the front from Spoon.
It's right into the front drive wheel.
Yeah.
That front wheel that the track goes around, guys, drive wheel. And if you fire a shot straight into there at the right angle, which is the angle that we saw those Carnarvons coming in at, you will hit the ammo rack. And the ammo rack in the IS-3 is already sensitive enough. And because tanks are firing so quickly and not hitting actually for very much damage, next to, of course, IS-3 5100, what you get is you get a number of crits. So if you're just putting these shells very, very quickly into an IS-3, you're going to keep critting his ammo rack. And even though these guys are pro accounts, maybe even a wet ammo rack, a number of shells is just going to set that thing off. And then boom, there goes the turret, you're gone. And that's 3 or 4 times the amount of damage that you normally would have done in a shell and a dead tank. Interesting play from the Carnarvons. I really am intrigued that it worked. Just great focus fire. I used to do something like that in the past with T-32s with 90mm cannons, but I think the Carnarvon does a little bit better than that, executing on that good focus fire, great penetration, incredible rate of fire, solid maneuverability with some decent armor.
Can't forget the Tiger 1 that was used by Sovereign Zool as well.
Yeah, how much damage did it end up doing?
He did 2,408 damage. He was 10 for 11 in the Tiger 1.
Oh, man.
Spoon, the top damage dealer, 2,442. He was 9 for 11. This brawl mode from Googly Bobbers with this type of lineup, even though it's not common, the strategy is what was the prime factor for this team to get this amount of damage in the brawl, focusing on tanks one by one.
I don't think they expected to do that well either. Or it could be that Gong Fu was just very demoralized, having lost 2 battles in a row. They had a rough season, and then on top of that, they meet up against the Googly Bobbers, and they start to get beat up.
Yeah.
The Googly Bobbers, I think, had a really easy time tonight.
Well, that does it for the first matchup. Go Bob wins. Gong Fu, we appreciate the indomitable spirit that you showed us as you maintained your presence in the Bravo Division despite the setbacks and obstacles. We wish you the best of luck as you continue as a team fighting in the Silver League, most likely, or wherever you wind up, and hopefully you can make it back in the Gold League. When we come back, it's Refuse to Die versus Hammer Time. Stay tuned.